Hello, I'm Austin Pollock. Welcome to this very special edition of Uncensored.
And I'm Roman McKinnon. We're just months away from the next state election in Queensland, and already campaign has hit every single corner in the state. It comes amidst topical issues that are facing Queenslanders right now, such as health, youth crime, housing and the Olympics.
The man in charge of the great state of Queensland is Premier Stephen Miles, formerly known as Labor's attack dog, and also led the state as the health minister throughout the early days of COVID-19. We spoke with the Premier right here on Uncensored a little earlier. Premier, welcome to Six News.
Thanks for having me.
So last time we spoke to you, it was just out on the street, moments after you got elected, and we were limited for time by the crosswalk signal, of course.
Yes.
And that was just moments after you were voted in by caucus to be Premier. What's it been like since then?
Well, it's been busy. We've done a lot since then, but I've really enjoyed it. I've loved getting out all around the state and hearing from Queenslanders and then trying to deliver on what's important for them.
We have the state election coming up in October. How would you deal with a hung parliament if Labor is still in the driver's seat after the election but doesn't win a majority? Are there any parties you can rule out not doing deals with?
Look, we won't do deals with any parties, but we'll deal with the parliament that's given to us. And I've been there in a minority government before. We didn't need deals to get through that, and that would be my approach.
Yeah.
I know you've spoken highly of Anastasia Palaszczuk since her resignation, but given there was clearly discontent within Labor about her leadership, do you think she stayed around too long?
No, I think she was a great leader of our party and of our state. She did incredible things women haven't done before in politics, and so I respect and admire that. Obviously I'm a different person, a very different kind of leader, and I'm just trying to show Queenslanders that.
I mean, we spoke to a number of Labor sources in the party. There was clearly discontent. Was she pushed out by your party?
No, this was Anastasia's decision that the time was right.
David Christofouli, the opposition leader, spoke to Six News in March just gone. He did make a fairly bold claim that Labor rigged the Queensland electoral system by changing it against recommendations made in the Fitzgerald inquiry by introducing full preferential voting. Your response to that?
Oh, that's just not true. The Australian elections are run with preferential voting. We had a range of advice that said that the informality rate in elections was higher because of the different systems at different levels of government. We changed it to be the same as the Australian government.
Recently I was contacted by a Queensland mother of two. She is so ashamed of her situation, she has asked to remain anonymous for this interview. But it's a story that will be echoed right across Queensland right now. She said that she's been waiting 16 months for a house build, which still hasn't started because her bank would not approve the build mortgage or loan if they were paying $500 to $800 a week for a rent while that house is being built. They say their mental health is struggling, and rightfully so. She has two kids and also her husband basically on the edge of homelessness. It is frankly horrific. Now, she has applied for every rental advertised under $500 per week, which is required by her bank, but it's such a repetitive issue, there simply aren't enough rentals available. What is your government doing, and how can you assure Queenslanders that they can get a roof over their heads?
Well, what we're working to do is address the housing supply system at each stage of it, and so we have crisis accommodation to deal with people who are homeless or at risk of being homeless. We have rental supports and bond loans and programs to support renters, and we want to support people to own their own home too, and it sounds like that's where this source of yours is coming from. We'd be happy to have someone reach out and talk to her about what services or supports might be most appropriate, but it sounds like she needs to find a property in the private market.
Yeah. As we all know, everything is going up right now. Electricity, water, insurance, rent, for example. Some of these are up triple since last financial year. Along with these figures, some Queenslanders are seeing a 40% increase in their power bills. Queenslanders have called on your government to deliver relief, and many have said you haven't. What's your response to the Queenslanders doing it tough, especially with power and those things I mentioned?
We will. That's very much our intention. We're talking to Queenslanders now about how best to deliver that kind of relief, and I've said that our budget, which is due in a couple of months' time, will be all about that.
The LNP has announced a solar for rental scheme, if elected, in October, which incentivises landlords to put solar panels on the roof at the benefit of renters, which can decrease power bills by $700 per year. Now, Brisbane is the second most expensive Australian city to rent a unit in. Do you think the LNP has out-policied you, and what effect will this have in October?
No, they stole one of our policies that we'd trialled and found didn't work. So we'd run a pilot of that program. It was found to push rents up. So rents on those properties that had the solar panels, landlords put the rent up, and so we decided that there were better ways to support renters with their electricity costs.
Premier, on to the Olympics now. We know it's quite a controversial issue. We have Brisbane Live, that's obviously going to be developed. Looking back to Sydney 2000 though, which did bring astronomical benefits to both the city and also the state. They developed multiple new venues and also a new stadium. Why is it justified for our games to use a very old stadium that is the lowest seating capacity in 104 years for an Olympic Games and was built so long ago, and we aren't going to build a new stadium? You're concerned, one, that there's a lack of vision for the future, but also a lack of legacy for the Games?
No, this is a very different kind of games to Sydney 2000. This is a games delivered under the new norms, which is the IOC's commitment that cities can deliver the games using venues that they already have. We are going to spend $7 billion on venues though, so it's not as if we're skimping on it. We've got the brand new arena that you've mentioned. We'll do upgrades at the Gabba and at Suncorp. We'll have the athletics centre for the athletics, but more importantly, we'll have all of those community venues, which I'm really excited about.
You mentioned costs. Then why spend $500,000 on a report if you aren't prepared to accept the main findings on the report? The report says, quote, "The combined cost of upgrading QSAC plus keeping the Gabba operational and compliant beyond 2032 is comparable to building a new stadium. However, it delivers significantly less legacy and commercial benefit." So how can cost of living be the excuse then?
I don't agree with the report. There's no way you can say an extra $1 billion is comparable in the current environment, and that's before that new venue project was even considered. The fact is, I asked for a report for a less expensive option, and they came back with an option that would cost $1 billion more, so I couldn't accept that outcome.
Final question on the Olympics now. Stadiums, they are used for hundreds of years into the future. Take the MCG in Melbourne, for example. Now, a new stadium for one of the fastest growing cities in Australia to replace an ageing venue, that in the report did say it does need significant upgrades. Don't you think that it would be an imperative for any government to build a new stadium?
No, I think it would be nuts to build a new stadium. We're spending billions to build a new transport interchange at the Gabba. Why would you have that there and then build a new stadium at Victoria Park? I don't think it makes sense. Just
one other thing about the Games before we do move on. I believe you recently received a letter from some former Paralympians and Olympians about the use of QSAC. I assume you have seen that letter?
I understand the Courier Mail wrote a letter and asked Olympians to sign it.
Do you have a response to that?
That was a letter written by the Courier Mail.
Let's move to youth crime now. Absolutely major issue. The LNP is proposing the removal of detention as a last resort. Why is Labor not supporting it?
Oh, look, that might make a good slogan, but it's not what the police or the courts or the experts tell us will make a difference. What we're told will make a difference is more police, better police resources, and a focus on intervening early and preventing crime where we can. And so that's what we'll do. We'll let the LNP keep their slogans.
We are seeing a lot of low policing numbers. In 2023, there was 218 per 100,000 people in Queensland, compared to 2015 when the Palaszczuk government did come in, 235 per 100,000 people in Queensland, and our population has grown quite a bit since then. Is there any reason why the police numbers have dropped so much?
We have 12,500 police working right across our state. They do a great job. We have had some challenges in recruitment these last couple of years, but I'm really pleased to have seen that turn around. Some of that followed the murder of those the awful murder of those officers, and understandably that affected people's thoughts about doing the job, as well as the really tight labour market. So people have more choices, but we have, I think there's 600 coming through the academies at the moment, and there's another 2,000 who've applied to join, so that'll well and truly put us back on track.
Can I just ask as well, what schemes or what initiatives are being put to bring in those further police?
So we've got them coming through the pipeline now, so they just have to get through the academy and get deployed.
Yeah, so many Queenslanders across the state are fed up with this youth crime crisis, and in some areas there is little work done. Queenslanders shouldn't be scared at night that teenagers will break inside their house with a knife, try and steal their car, or even worse, kill somebody. Queenslanders should feel safe inside their home. What's your response to that, Premier? When will it end?
I agree. We're already starting to see early signs that what we're doing is working, that the high visibility policing as well as our other initiatives have turned the corner in a lot of regions. So 12 of 14 regions have seen improvements in this last quarter. We want to see that continue, and so we're going to invest more in the things that are proving to be working.
Let's move to health now. Still a major issue with a lack of resources, preventable deaths from ambulance ramping, pressure on doctors and nurses trying to fit patients into beds, and extremely long wait times. Your health minister laughed at questions surrounding this. The system is broken, and is time running out for your government?
We have the best performing health system in the country across a lot of measures, but what those statements point to is the challenges that all health systems are facing with chronic illness, with the collapse of primary health care, and with the growth in population as well as an ageing population. And so we need to keep responding to those things. We need to keep building new hospitals, expanding the hospitals we have, employing more doctors and nurses and health professionals, while we call upon the federal government to do what it will take to fix primary health care and bulk billing. The fact is, too many people can't get in to see a doctor. They leave it too long to get help, and then by the time they get to our hospital, they're sicker than they should have been.
What are the key policies you're bringing to the next state election that our viewers should know about?
So we have a massive housing building program, more than $3 billion Homes for Queenslanders plan, and I know that addresses something a lot of people are concerned about. I've already said that come the budget, we'll be doing everything that we possibly can to support people with the cost of living. And then on the key services that state government delivers, that's health and public education, TAFE, those kinds of things. We're really committed to continue to expand those, because that's where we can make a real difference for the community.
State election not far away. How's your confidence levels against David Christopherli?
Oh look, every election's hard. I know David thinks he's already won. He started calling himself the Premier-elect. But every election's hard, and as the election comes around, people are going to start demanding that he have more than slogans. He's going to need some plans, and I think when people see how flimsy his plans are, it's going to get a bit tighter.
Were there any worries off the back of those recent by-elections we saw?
Not especially. By-elections are always hard for governments. They were, the kinds of outcomes that we were expecting, but by-elections very rarely point to outcomes in general elections, and so we'll keep working hard.
Sorry, they do send a message though, do they not?
Of course, yeah, and I took that message on board. I took that message to mean that Queenslanders wanted us to work harder on the things that were their priorities, and that's what we're doing.
Premier, we love the hard-hitting questions here at 6 News, but let's finish on a bit of a lighter note. We often, watch out, we often see on your Instagram page every couple of weeks, we'll show a bit of it now as well, in the kitchen talking some policy. But Premier, I have to ask, you seem pretty handy in the kitchen. What's the favourite dish to make?
I do love to cook, and I don't get to do enough of it these days. Paul Kim has taken over most of the cooking duties. I do a pretty mean scrambled eggs, so that's our go-to on the weekend.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Premier, thank you so much for joining us here on 6 News.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And that is Uncensored. Remember to leave your thoughts using the hashtag 6NewsAU. There's headlines on the hour, every hour on 6 News, plus more news throughout the day. I'm Roman McKinnon.
And I'm Austin Pollock. Thanks so much for the privilege of your time. Bye for now.